Hi, Tumnad lectures. In this video, we are taking a look on one of the beautiful cellular component of blood, which we call the white blood cells. If you find this video helpful, please make sure to like the video, comment down in the comment section, and please subscribe. Let's go ahead and get started. So now, in the previous video, we looked at what we call blood centrifuging process. We were able to put the blood in the container and we spilled it multiple of the times, and we came up with this beautiful kind of the layers of what we call the blood. We saw that at the top most layer was what we call the blood plasma, okay, which was contributing approximately around 55%, okay. And then we also had this kind of the cellular layer, which was going to be down, with having a lot of what we call the red blood cells, which was contributing approximately around 45%. And then we also had this beautiful thin layer which was residing between the red blood cell layer and what we call the blood plasma. We call that thin layer what we call the Buffy coat. The Buffy coat was containing two beautiful kind of the cells. It was containing what we call the white blood cells. It was also containing what we call the platelets, and it was accounting for approximately less than 1%. Okay, so now in this video we are going to be mainly focusing on these kind of the white blood cells that are residing in what we call the Buffy coat. Let's go ahead and get started. So now we are going to be first starting off with the basic kind of the concept. I want first to pretend for a minute that the whole of this blood here is, for example, 1 microliter. Okay, we first pretend for a minute that the whole of this blood here is, for example, 1 microliter. Now the question is, how many of the white blood cells are we supposed to find in what we call 1 microliter of blood? It is just going to be generally a range. It's going to be approximately around 4,000 to 11,000 white blood cells per microliter. Okay, so now we are going to be expecting to find approximately 4,000 to 11,000 white blood cell per microliter. That's going to be a normal range. Okay, now if you have less than 4,000, the white blood cells per microliter, this is what we call leukopenia. Okay, this is what we call leukopenia. Okay, and if you have more than 11,000, okay, if you have more than 11,000 white blood cells per microliter, this one is what we call leukocytosis. Okay, this one here is what we call leukocytosis. Okay, these are some of the key important kind of the terminologies that you need to pay much attention to. Okay, when we talk of white blood cells, at the back of your mind, you need to know that they are also sometimes called the leukocytes, and that's why we are seeing the leukopenia, leukocytosis, because white blood cells can also be called the leukocytes. Okay, let me just put it here that they can also be called the leukocytes. Okay. Now, we're going to be looking on what we call the different types of what we call white blood cells. Now, these white blood cells are categorized into two. We have that category of white blood cells that are going to be having visible specific granules. Okay, and also we also have that kind of category of what we call white blood cells that are going to be having non-specific kind of granules. They are even so much invisible with what we call the light microscope. Okay, this category is also going to be having granules, but they are not so much specific like the other one, which are so much visible and so much specific. Now, those kind of the white blood cells that are having visible specific granules, those kind of the white blood cells are categorized under what we call granulocytes. Okay, they are categorized under what we call granulocytes. Okay, and those category of white blood cells that are not having all that visible specific granules, but they do have, are categorized under what we call agranulocytes. Okay, under what we call granulocytes, or they can even be called the non-granulocytes. Okay, it doesn't mean that they are no granules. They are granules, but they are not so much specific and they are not so much visible. Okay, but granules are going to be there. Okay. Now, this kind of the category of the white blood cells, which we are calling the granulocytes, we also have three types of what we call granulocytes. What are the three types of the granulocytes? The first one, which is so much special, that's going to be accounting for the biggest percentage of the total white blood cells, is going to be what we call the neutrophils. Okay, it's going to be what we call what we call the neutrophils. This one is super very important. It is the most abundant type of white blood cells, okay, contributing approximately around 40 to 70% of the total white blood cell count. It is such another beautiful thing, okay? And then another category of what we call white blood cells under granulocytes is going to be what we call eosinophils, okay? What we call eosinophils. These ones are super very important. We shall go into the detail each one of them and see what happens whenever they're elevated or whenever they go down, okay? And then another one which is also going to be under what we call the granulocytes is going to be what we call the basophils. Okay, what we call the basophils. Okay. Now, when we come over on this kind of beautiful agranulocytes, okay, they're having granules, but they are not so much specific and they are not so much visible on what we call the light microscope. We also have two categories of cells which are under agranulocytes. The first one that is super very important is what we call the lymphocytes. Okay, is what we call the lymphocytes. Okay, and then another one is what we call the monocytes. Okay, we shall go again ahead and look on what we call the lymphocytes and what we call the monocytes. So now when we talk about the lymphocytes, these ones are super very important. We have a couple of them. We have what we call the B cells. We have what we call the T cells. We also have what we call the natural killer cells. Okay, so now when we talk of what we call the lymphocytes, we still have another types of what we call the lymphocytes, which are going to be categorized on that kind of what we call the lymphocytes. Okay, and of course, when we talk about the monocytes, we're also going to be having a category of them. Whenever these kind of the monocytes move out of the blood, they get baptized with the name which we call the macrophages. Okay, and even also we're also going to be having some of the monocytes differentiating into what we call the dendritic cells. Okay, so when we talk of the lymphocytes, these are going to be some of the different types of what we call the lymphocytes, the B cells, the T cells, and the natural killer cells. And of course, the B cells are going to be differentiating to the plasma cells, and they start producing what we call the antibodies, providing what we call the humoral mediated kind of the immunity. And when we talk about the T cells, we're going to be having also a couple of them, like for example, the CD4, the CD8 kind of the cells categorized under what we call the T cells, providing what we call the cell-mediated kind of the immunity. Okay, and then even also what we call the natural killer cells, which are responsible for killing those kind of the infected kind of the cells. Okay, so now that briefly covers an introductory part on what we call white blood cells. They just have a very quick recap of what we have just said. We said that white blood cells can also be called the leukocytes. We have those kind of the white blood cells that are going to be having visible specific kind of the granules, which we call the granulocytes. And we also have those kind of the white blood cells that are going to be having non-specific kind of the granules. They are so much visible. We call them the agranulocytes. We went ahead and said that granulocytes are also going to be having three categories under what we call granulocytes. We have what we call the neutrophils, which is going to be the most abundant, the most motile, and even the one which arrives at the site of the infection very fast than any other kind of what we call the white blood cell. We also have what we call the eosinophils, and even also what we call the basophils, all under what we call the granulocytes. Okay, when we talk of agranulocytes, we said we have what we call the lymphocytes and what we call the monocytes. And of course, under lymphocytes, we're having what we call the B cells, we're having what we call the T cells, and what we call the natural killer cells. And when we talk about the monocytes, they are called monocytes whenever they are circulating in blood. When they come out, they are what we call the macrophages, and even also we are going to be having what we call the monocytes, some of them differentiating to what we call the dendritic cells. Okay, so now that briefly covers the concept of what we call white blood cells. So now in the next video, we are going to go ahead and dive into what we call the granulocytes only. We look how the neutrophils look like, we look at how eosinophils look like, and also look how the basophils look like. And then we also go ahead and look what happens whenever the levels of these kind of the cells are elevated, or even when they go down. What does it signify? We shall look at that one in the next video. Thank you very much for watching, and if you think whatever I've talked to really is making sense, is adding to you, you are benefiting, please like the video, comment down in the comment section, and please subscribe. Thank you very much for watching. As always, Tumnad. Until we meet next time. Bye-bye.